Hello and welcome to TVB News. Chinese President Xi Jinping has concluded his Peru trip and arrived in Rio de Janeiro for the 19th G20 summit, which is themed Building a Just World and a Sustainable Planet. Danny Zhou has our top story.
President Xi Jinping's plane landed in the Brazilian capital Sunday afternoon. He received a ceremonial salute by the honor guard. The welcoming crowds waved national flags as Xi's highly anticipated visit marks the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relationship between the two nations. In a written speech, Xi placed development at the center of the G20 cooperation, while noting China has been Brazil's top trading partner for 15 consecutive years. Lauding the two countries' shared views, the Chinese leader called for synergy between the Belt and Road Initiative and Brazil's development strategies. Xi said he hopes they could jointly bring a new golden 50 years of bilateral ties and build a world that is more just, sustainable and multipolar. The upcoming G20 summit brings together state leaders for discussions on key international economic issues. Brazil, during its presidency this year, seeks to address the concerns of the global south by putting the fight against hunger and poverty high on the agenda. And China is steadfast in its support for free trade and globalization. A meeting is expected to be held between President Xi and British Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Xi is also expected to meet with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Some international experts noted China's growing influence in the international arena and constructive role in South-South cooperation. President of the Rio G20 Organizing Committee, Lucas Paglia, said the high-quality relationship between China and Brazil covers areas of trade, industrialization and investment. Africa is also eyeing more pragmatic cooperation with China.
The Chinese leadership are extending their hands to work with the Chinese, with the African nations, to exchange good experiences and good practices, and to share the wealth of knowledge.
Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Sources say the government will implement time-varying tolls at the Thailam Tunnel after the government reclaims control over it next year. Under the measure, private cars will be charged $45 during the peak time slot, while commercial vehicles will have to pay $43 at all times. Timothy Lee reports.
Motorists traveling through the Thailam Tunnel via private cars are technically charged $100 currently. But owing to a subsidy offered by the company operating the tunnel, they currently have to pay $58. With the government set to take over the tunnel at the end of May next year, authorities are planning to adjust the toll plan, which will also see cross-tunnel charges lowered. Private cars, subject to 3 different time slots, will be charged $45 for the peak time slot, $30 for the normal time slot, and $18 for the off-peak time slot. Taxis and buses will be charged the same amount at all times. But what do motorists think of the new measure? This man said the original charge of $58 was too high, but the $10 discount is still not enough. This man said the lower charge is not enticing enough for him to use the tunnel. This, as lawmaker Gary Zhang believes the time-varying toll scheme will help lead to smoother traffic. But some raised concerns about the new plan's effectiveness, as motorists could travel on Two Moon Road and the Two Moon Chek-Lap-Kot link free of charge. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Hong Kong's unemployment rate saw a slight 0.1% increase to 3.1%. The number of unemployed people in the city stood at 120,000 between August and October. That is 800 people more than the July to September period. The arts, recreation, and entertainment sectors saw the largest increase in unemployment. There are currently around 20,000 vacant positions in the civil service sector. Some lawmakers have raised concerns about the manpower shortage. The standby signal number 1 is now in force and will remain in force until at least 10 a.m. on Tuesday. This came as severe tropical storm Mani was projected to skirt about 400 kilometers to the south of the city tomorrow morning. Mimo Singhai reports.
The weather was fine with sunny intervals this morning. Visibility was low. Despite the approaching storm, some tourists visited the Golden Bauhinia Square in Wan Chai. The sky turned grey and cloudy after midday. The inconsistent weather did not affect some people's day out. Apart from Mani, 3 other tropical cyclones appeared in the northwest Pacific and the South China Sea this month: Yinxin, Taraji, and Usagi. Last week, the observatory issued a TA signal under Taraji. What do people think of the untypical climate situation?
Even in the Philippines, that this is the typhoon season, so we just really need to be prepared for it, I think.
Usually we had typhoons in September or even sometime July, end of June, but now it's all wrong. We're lucky because this year, for example, we haven't had much trouble with the typhoon. They sort of avoided us. But I'm afraid the Philippines is getting it all, and I feel sorry for them.
Under the combined effect of the northeast monsoon and Mani, the sea level will be high during the high tide overnight. The observatory reminds residents to be cautious.
On Monday afternoon, Mani adopted a westerly track across the northern part of the South China Sea. The observatory will only upgrade the signal to T3 if Mani takes a more northerly track or edges closer to the coast of Guangdong with a higher intensity. Mims 9, TVB News.
The ruling of the city's first case of conspiracy to commit subversion will be announced on Tuesday. 45 of the 47 Democrats were found guilty. After more than 3 years, the 45 convicted Democrats will receive their sentencing at West Kowloon Magistrates Courts on Tuesday. The case began with an unofficial primary election in 2020, hoping to increase the chance of Democrats securing a majority in an upcoming Legislative Council election before agreeing to veto the budget and achieving a government shutdown. The POANG, a naval sailing training ship from the People's Liberation Army, arrived in Hong Kong today. It will dock in the city for 3 days. Mimo Singhai reports.
A sailing ship in the mist. Gradually, the structure of the vessel became visible. POANG is the name of the 3-masted ship. It is the first naval sailing training ship of the People's Liberation Army. After setting off from the mainland in August, the POANG had docked in countries including Vietnam, Malaysia, and Singapore before arriving in Hong Kong at around 7 a.m. The ceremony of manning the rails was conducted by sailors as the ship entered Victoria Harbour. The gesture is a traditional salute used by naval vessels. For the next 2 days, the POANG is open to people with an invitation at On Shun Zhao Naval Base. The vessel, which is 85 meters long and 11 meters wide, can accommodate 50 Navy trainees. Mims 9, TVB News.
World leaders have touched down in Rio de Janeiro ahead of the G20 summit. They were met by Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who will hold bilateral meetings with many leaders. They received long handshakes from the Brazilian leader, as well as Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, the UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, Malaysian Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim, while Canada's President Justin Trudeau was seen arriving at the airport. Russian leader Vladimir Putin won't be present, but the country's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov has flown to Brazil. U.S. President Joe Biden arrived in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil Sunday evening for this year's Group of 20 summit. Earlier in the day, he was in Manaus, where he witnessed the devastation of drought up close as the first sitting American president to visit the Amazon rainforest. Biden met with indigenous leaders and signed a U.S. proclamation designating November 17th as International Conservation Day. Tracy Furness has more.
President Joe Biden touched down in Rio de Janeiro Sunday ahead of the G20 summit, which takes place this week. Biden got an aerial tour over part of the world's largest tropical rainforest, the Rio Negro and Amazon River. The massive Amazon region is about the size of Australia and stores up huge amounts of the world's carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas driving climate change. But development in the Amazon is rapidly depleting the world's largest rainforest, and rivers too are drying up. He caught a glimpse of severe erosion and passed over a wildlife refuge for endangered species of monkeys and birds. Touching down in the Amazon, Biden became the first sitting president to set foot in the rainforest as he announced fundings for the area.
With today's proclamation, I'm proud to announce, first, the United States Development Finance Corporation will mobilize hundreds of millions of dollars in partnership with a Brazilian company to reforest the Amazon. Second, we're launching a Brazil Restoration and Bioeconomy Finance Coalition to mobilize at least $10 billion by 2030 to restore and protect 20,000 square miles of land.
Biden then signed a proclamation designating November 17th as International Conservation Day. He was later joined by his daughter Ashley Biden and granddaughter Natalie Biden, who he introduced to the indigenous leaders before visiting a museum at the gateway to the Amazon. Biden's trip comes as the UN climate conference is underway in Azerbaijan. Brazil will hold the talks next year. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
In the U.S., one person has died and at least 39 others made ill by E. coli infections linked to fresh carrots in 18 states. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said that the infections are linked to whole-bagged carrots and baby carrots sold by Grimway Farms in California. Walmart, Target, Kroger, Whole Foods, and Trader Joe's are among stores that retail the carrots under a variety of brand names. The carrots are unlikely to still be on store shelves, but may still be in consumers' homes and should be thrown away. The United Arab Emirates has been known as an oil powerhouse. With its commitment in promoting energy transition in recent years, a Chinese company has helped build the world's first power station in Dubai that uses both coal and natural gas to generate clean energy. Jackie Lin reports.
Skyscrapers soaring into the sky along the coast overseeing the Persian Gulf. They include a Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world. Dubai boasts a population of about 3.8 million. It is ranked fourth in its per capita energy consumption in the world. The Dubai government is setting its sights on cutting carbon emissions by increasing the share of clean energy in their energy demand to 75% by 2050. In 2017, a Chinese power company was invited to build the world's first dual-fuel clean energy power station in the desert of Dubai. That means it can burn both coal and natural gas. The power station, which consists of 4 generators, was fully operational in 2023. It has a total capacity of 2,400 megawatts, which can provide 20% of Dubai's electricity. Zhao Guoran, the project site manager, said European and American companies have made inroads into the UAE region, especially in Dubai in the early days. This was later taken up by Japanese and Korean companies. Now the bulk of the energy companies hail from China. During the construction process, the natural ecology and precious species were taken care of. They included swaths of land earmarked as nature reserves. Zhao said about 28,000 corals in this area were transplanted to the adjacent artificial island. He noted how sea turtles lay eggs in the area, so the lighting and noise emitted from the construction was strictly controlled. The power plant project, which was invested, designed, and manufactured by a Chinese company, has a total investment value of about $3.3 billion. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Some of Hong Kong's youth representatives took part in the 31st Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, which wrapped up in Peru yesterday. They joined their peers from other parts of the world in discussions of how youngsters can better make contributions. Danny Zhou reports.
At this year's APEC meetings, Hong Kong is not just represented by Chief Executive John Lee. There were a total of 9 Hong Kong youngsters that participated in the Voices of the Future, an official youth development program under the APEC framework. Ms. Wong was one of them. She said it is very important to help young people in different economies to have their voice in policymaking and political discussions. She also had the precious opportunity to talk with top entrepreneurs during the Business Leaders Summit. Ms. Yao, the youngest among Hong Kong's delegates, is a Year 2 student at university. She encouraged her peers to broaden their horizons and go beyond the comfort zones. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
To celebrate its 25th anniversary, the world-renowned Salon del Mobile design event hosted its first overseas exhibition at the West Kowloon Arts Pavilion. Visitors have the opportunity to see the award-winning furniture designs from over the last 2.5 decades, including one piece created by a local designer. Timothy Lee tells us more.
In partnership with International Design Furniture Fair Hong Kong, Italian Salon del Mobile design event welcomed residents and tourists to its first exhibition held at the West Kowloon Cultural District. Maria Porro, the president of Salone del Mobile Milano, explained why the design event chose Hong Kong to host its first international exhibition.
It's really a cross-current place, and we talk about the best architect in the world who contribute along the history of Hong Kong. So it's a city where you smell and breathe design and architecture.
95 pieces of award-winning design products are showcased at the event, which is open to visitors until this Thursday. With most designs originating outside of Hong Kong, Winnie Yu, founder of International Design Furniture Fair Hong Kong, suggests that locals could come up with original concepts while learning from overseas designs.
For Hong Kong designers, I believe that the more you see, the more you will get to be more confident in what you do. You don't have to really follow the trends.
Dennis Chung, the only designer from Hong Kong to have won in a Salone event, encouraged local designers to take advantage of the city's close proximity to the mainland.
It's about the proximity to a large manufacturing area in Guangdong, different locations in China. So it's very possible for Hong Kong designers to innovate and also to have it prototyped and manufactured in China.
Besides the main exhibition, visitors at the events could also trace the history of designs at Salone's satellite over the years from this light display. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. See you then.